Alright, so. Alright. Eh. Alright. Damn. Alright, so I got that all set up again. That off. Alright. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome back. Hello, hello. Alright, so where did we leave off? We left off at we saw a bit of Beatrice's history of she saw another witch Beatrice and wanted to become her disciple, talking about endless witches. Valor got torn up by a bunch of deadly sins, got put back together, and now we're playing our third game with Beatrice, and we ran into the flashbacks from Eva about Kraus being an absolute douchebag. And Kinzo wondering where his family went wrong, where he went wrong raising his family. Yeah. Anywho, that's where we left off at. So, here we go. What more can we pile onto this crazy cake? Did I take the wrong path, just like Father and Nissan said? True, I never studied how to be a lady. Everything I've learned was done in the hopes that I could help Father someday. But, is that really true? Haven't I always been trying to compete with Nissan, with whom I've had a bad relationship since I was a young girl? Because I wanted to steal his position as successor and show him a thing or two? Every chance he gets, Nissan tells me that men should be manly and women should be womanly. It's unfair discrimination just because of my gender. Something people are born with and can't do anything about. I resisted. I told him he could go out in public and not be embarrassed. Did I betray his hopes, earning good grades and threatening Nissan, just to satisfy a childhood resentment? I gotta check a thing. What? Alright, well, that's all good. That's not it. Who the hell are you? Hey, more people, more people. You swore to me, saying, I will become the successor to the Ushirimiya family. You, the one whispering to me, was the me of my years as a young girl, born inside my heart on the day I made that oath. That's right. She was my only ally. When things got difficult, when I felt like I was about to get crushed by it all, she would always quietly appear and support me. When I ran into roadblocks and despaired, she would always appear and support me. When I grew up and the memories of my childhood years faded, I also started to forget my conversations with her. I, Ushirimiya Eva, will definitely become the head of the Ushirimiya family. And I'll triumph over that irritating, arrogant Kraus. On that day, we promised to do our best together to achieve that. That's right. We promised. On that day, I promised that I would become the successor to the Ushirimiya headship. On that day, when I had been overcome with sadness, wondering why I was even alive, you appeared from inside me and lent me your strength. Father didn't accept me. I wanted to teach Nissan a lesson. I believe that doing this will let me say goodbye to the wretched creature I once was. For a time, I truly believed that my life had no purpose other than to be looked down upon by Nissan. It's painful just remembering those days. They're a wound, a crack inside my heart. She taught me how to sew up that wound. I turned my anger into effort and improved myself, trying to become a person more worthy of the headship than Kraus was, trying to triumph over him by making Father accept me. It was my perfect revenge. I was vaguely aware that a woman couldn't possibly become the family head, but I thought that maybe, if I could prove myself valuable enough to overturn that premise, then surely even Father would select me to be his successor. If that happened, then I'd be able to have the greatest and most perfect revenge against Nissan, who always acted like his succession to the headship was completely inevitable. That's right. If we can manage that, the wounds in our heart will be healed. We promise each other to do our best until that day comes. And now you're saying you're gonna break that promise? Scum. Coward. If only you'd just give up and die. Even though she looked like me as a kid, she was still another me. Her tongue was sharp, because it was mine. It makes me pretty mad hearing that, even for myself. You have no right to speak of me like that. Then let's use that anger to fuel our learning. Changing anger into power is my magic. I've saved you from a bunch of tight spots with that power, letting you to succeed when you shouldn't have. As long as you have my magic, there's nothing you can't do. Magic? That's right. Anger has always been my driving force. I wonder when it was I forgot that. If you can remember me again, that magic will become ours once more. Come on, let's turn that anger into power and study even harder, okay? I know we still got a lot to learn. Alright, yeah. Let's go to college, study more and more, get excellent grades, and drive Kraus into a corner. That guy acts like we're nothing, but I'm sure he feels pretty well cornered in the inside. If only he'd just learn his place and die. If he did, we could become the head. Rudolph won't take the job. That kid can't go against us. Stop that. No matter how much more I study, Father still won't accept me. Why not? Father told me to be womanly. Because I'm a woman, no matter how hard I tried. Father wouldn't have passed the headship on to me, even if I had been born before Nissan. No matter how much effort I put in, I can't become anything more than a woman. I won't be acknowledged. Nissan doesn't try at all, but I can't surpass him. He'll look down on me forever. Father and Kraus are the worst kind of male supremacists. If only they'd just die. She cursed them for my sake. Words that I couldn't say so easily she said for me. Even though I understand that she's just another part of myself inside of me. I feel like she's the only ally I have who can sympathize with me. However, while sympathy might do a lot to calm my heart, it won't do anything to improve my current situation. In the end, she can only console me for however long it takes me to be ejected by reality, before I finally accept it. Thank you. You've done enough. Now that it's come to this, I've become such a good lady that it'll shock even Father. I'll find an excellent man that Nissan can't even compare to. You can't do that. She rejected my timid thoughts. I understand. Because she is me. I understand. All Father said was that he won't let a woman succeed the headship now. But even that's just a rule Father made up. Since he made it, he can't get rid of it. He can get rid of it. Human feelings can change far more often than the number of sand grains on the beach. And Kraus is such a stupid man that Father's eventually gonna realize it, even if we don't prove it for him. When that happens, the wall that separates man from woman will be demolished by Father himself, who set it up in the first place. That day will surely come. How can you be so sure? Because that's my magic. If you just believe, this magic will surely summon a miracle. The basis of my magic is nothing more than your believing heart. If I use this magic, then surely I'll never have to doubt until the day I die that I'll eventually become the head. But I don't know if that's the right thing for the Ushimiya Eva. Maybe I should aim to become the kind of lady Father wants. Someone who can proudly participate in high society. And if I'm reborn, maybe Father will change his opinion of me. Maybe I can find my own lifestyle. Just as Nissan has found his. And anyway, I just can't imagine my son and Father choosing a woman like me as the head. Especially if it means skipping over Kraus. You don't believe? I was just thinking. Maybe I can't succeed the headship, but as a woman, I can have a child. And Nissan still isn't engaged. If Nissan isn't able to father a child, and I gave birth to one, then wouldn't that make my child the next head after Nissan? In other words, wouldn't that mean the same thing as stealing the headship from Nissan? Are you serious? Yes, I'm serious. True, it'll be very sad to abandon the resolve I've had since childhood. It pains my heart to betray you, my younger self. But this is my most realistic option. Are you throwing away your dreams? And me as well? I'm not throwing anything away. I'm an adult. And the day has come for me to part ways with you. That's right. Eva's already become an adult. She's even forgotten how to use magic. And now she's the mother of a single child. She forgot all about how magic can grant one's own dreams. And now she's forcing those dreams onto her son. Even though Father and Kraus ruined your life, you're trying to push your dreams onto your son, ruining his life. Is that what you call being an adult? George is a son I'm proud of. One who won't embarrass himself no matter where he goes. The dream I wasn't granted might come true for George. Jessica's a delinquent in both her grades and her behavior. And she's a woman. If only Jessica would step down, George would become the heir. Even saying it was painful. Am I just forcing my own regrets onto George? It's not like I have any right to look on Jessica with scorn. Wasn't I just horrible for hitting her with the same words that had caused me so much suffering? I understand. I understand. The desire to triumph over my brother is part of my own personal revenge. I can't use George for that. So I'll take revenge myself. I have a plan to cheat Nissan out of some of his money, with Rudolph and Rosa as my allies. I'll surely be able to get back at him. In any case, I'm sure that Nissan is embezzling Father's assets. What a boring plan. Why don't you just give up on that and cry yourself to sleep? We will become the Ushimiya family head. Don't mistake what your dream is. And believe me when I say it'll definitely come true. Believe in my magic. If I believe, I wonder if any power will dwell in that magic. It will. My magic can grant any wish with certainty. I'll believe. I'll believe. So create a miracle with that magic. If you don't, the hole in my heart will never heal. Okay. Then listen well. Listen to my magic words. And understand. If we can solve the riddle, we can become the Ushimiya family head. So lend me your ears and listen carefully. I believe this would be considered schizophrenia? But we'll see where it goes. Behold the Sweetfish River running through my beloved hometown. You who seek the Golden Land follow its path downstream in search of the key. Eva-san, it looks like we're about to arrive. And Kiri shook her shoulders. Eva jumped and awoke from her doze. I'm sorry. I was half asleep. I'm sorry to scare you. Aunt Eva, you were out cold. Did you get up early this morning? Maybe. I let you all see something embarrassing. Not really. I'm sorry. Well, I'd say it's pretty impressive you were relaxed enough to sleep. Father kept yelling, "We're gonna fall! We're gonna drown!" Can't get bored with this guy around. Shut up. All humans have at least one thing they're weak against. Battler and Jessica came in, messing around. Rudolph also made a face as if asking, "Are you okay?" Get a hold of yourself. When you see Dad and the rest, all that sleepiness will go right out the window. Let's all give it our best, okay? That's right. We have to keep it together. Especially this year. That's it. Let's all tighten our assholes and go. Rudolph said those strict words in a small voice that only Eva could hear. Failure would not be tolerated in this year's family conference. All of their companies were hanging in the balance. Even Rudolph's face looked a little tense. Eva's expression probably looked tense as well. Mom, I have her luggage. Let's go up onto the deck. Thank you. You really are considerate, George. Why are you thanking me so suddenly? It's not like you, Mother. Eva! George! We're here! Grab our luggage. Oh! We're there! We're there! Hey, Maria! Stop running or you'll trip! I see Maria was already getting excited. She ran circles around Hideyoshi, escaping from Rosa, who was trying to catch her. What is it, Mother? Do you feel sick? George, take her luggage and go on ahead. Your mother's probably feeling anemic, so I'll lend her a hand. Really? Okay, I'll head out first. Something odd in Eva's expression told Hideyoshi that it hadn't been a pleasant awakening, so he made George go on ahead. Rudolph's family and Rosa's family also went up onto the deck, leaving only Eva and Hideyoshi inside the boat. Eva had a vague expression on her face, as though she still hadn't been able to escape from her daydream. What's wrong? Why the meek face? I wonder if I'm using George as a tool for my own revenge. I wonder if my childish hostility towards Nissan has caused me to treat that child's life like a toy. What have I done? What have I... That isn't true. George is our wonderful son, and he'll always perform admirably wherever he goes. Eva, even if you let your own hopes get in the way a bit, everything turned out okay in the end, hasn't it? You haven't done anything wrong. In fact, George is grateful for the strict discipline you gave him, right? Really? Hey, really? George doesn't think I'm a terrible mother, does he? Does he? Does he? Does he? He's never said anything like that. Not even once. You're just worrying too much. Hideyoshi-sama. Everyone has left the boat. Oh, did you lose something? Do you need a hand? Kumasawa had come to check on them while they hadn't gone up onto the deck. Hideyoshi hid Eva behind his back so that her expression wouldn't be seen. Yeah, sorry. My necktie pin just got a little crooked. We're fine, and we'll be out in a sec. Wait outside for us. Is that so? Then I will wait outside. Even though she didn't really understand, Kumasawa realized that something had come up and disappeared so that she couldn't trouble them further. If they stayed here any longer, they would probably make everyone else worry too. It's about time to go. We'll make George and the rest worry. George really doesn't despise me? No, nothing of the sort. In fact, he's very grateful. Did you have a nightmare? Again? Yeah. Hideyoshi knew that Eva was often tormented by nightmares, and they always grew more marked on the days leading up to the family conference. Hideyoshi knew that Eva's relationship with Kraus was still full of antagonism to the point of being traumatic, and that she still couldn't let go of the feelings she'd had as a child. That was a dream. I'm with you now. If I grasp your hand like this, that dream will go away. Right? Look, I'm holding tight. That hurts. Thank you. I'm fine now. Let's get off the boat. Yeah. Let's get off the boat. Everyone's waiting for us. I'm sorry. Hmm? I'm sorry that I yelled at you about the smoke from your cigarettes just now. Come on, you normally wouldn't apologize for that sort of thing. You're all frail after having that dream. Don't worry about it. I was wrong for not realizing that the smoke was affecting you. Have you started to hate me? No way, no way. If I hated you after something like that, we wouldn't have lasted 3 days. Come on. Stand up, stand up. Let's get off the boat. I like Hideyoshi. Hideyoshi-sama, Eva-sama, is everything alright? Are you not feeling well? This time, it was Goto. It looked like they'd kept everyone waiting too long after all. Even Eva had to stand up without grumbling now. She had to stop forcing her bad mood onto her husband and causing him any more trouble. Because that wasn't something a good wife would do. Is everything okay? If it's a matter concerning your health, shall I call Dr. Nanjo? Thanks, but I'm just feeling a little anemic. I'm fine now. It's a woman's disease. Don't worry about it. Come on. Don't say stuff like that in front of people. That's embarrassing. Oh, sorry. Eva elbowed Hideyoshi in the gut. By that time, her normal expression had returned, which allowed Hideyoshi to relax a little. The bright sunlight outside almost made her dizzy. A small plank for getting out the boat was lowered, and Goto was waiting there, smiling and ready to lend them a hand. Please, Eva-sama. Your hand. Thank you. Welcome to Rokkenjima. Welcome back? Huh? When she left the boat, it seemed to Eva as though she'd heard the voice of her young self. No, it hadn't seemed that way. Someone had told her, welcome back. After becoming a shameless adult, the voice of her young self was distant. What am I living for? What can I do to release myself from this obsession? Hideyoshi heard her talking to herself, and Hideyoshi held on tightly to Eva's shoulders. His firmness alone told her that there was no need to say any more. Maybe it was because the typhoon was getting closer. The lively cries of the seagulls, which usually greeted them when they arrived, couldn't be heard at all. Is that chapter? Well, knowing how this story is told, nothing bad could possibly happen. She'll win the head, and everything will be happy, and everyone will be all smiles. Right? Right? Okay, there's the 6 sacrifices. While we're here, because we all know what's gonna happen. I think. What? You mean 6 years ago? It's the bets. I'm betting Rudolph Kiri, Rosa Kraus, Natasha, somebody else. Kinzo, I guess? Yeah, I'll bet Kinzo. That's one of the first 6. That's my guess. That is my guess and my bet. Just based off previous episodes. Well, let's see how it goes. What? You mean 6 years ago? I mean, I was still in elementary school back then, right? It's pretty unfair to expect me to remember everything, don't you think? True. Especially because we were so young. We've grown a lot in these 6 years. If I hadn't been introduced, I might not even have remembered you. Yeah. Really? I figured he was Battler right away. And when he opened his mouth, I was sure. Oh, I just met him for the first time. Didn't know him 6 years ago. That's right. Maria-sama was only 3 years old then. Well, the same goes for me. I only knew Maria when she was 3 years old, and she's grown so big. Of course I wouldn't recognize her. After lunch, we had all gone out to the beach to walk around, talk, and take it easy. Our parents were apparently having a suspicious, complicated discussion, so I ended up leaving them behind. Well, just as I'd guessed from the start, the conversation focused on me since I'd been away for 6 years. Still, you've really gotten tall. I wouldn't call myself short, but your height really surprised me. That's right. I remember well what Battler-sama was like 6 years ago. But I was surprised, even so. Yeah, seriously. I can hardly believe this is the same Battler we knew back then. I'm surprised how much everyone remembers about it. My memory's all hazy. Yeah, I'll bet. Looks like it's taking you a while to remember us. You know, that hurts a bit. Come on, this is 6 years ago, right? I'm the one who has it bad, being forced to remember. Are you saying that you can't remember well because it was 6 years ago? I can remember it as clear as if it happened yesterday. Well, your memory's great, after all. You remember the kind of things Battler did and said back then pretty clearly, don't you? Come to think of it, that's right. Shannon's memory can be incredible when you'd least expect it. I'm horrible at remembering. I remember fun things, but can't remember boring things at all. Oh. We all laughed, saying that everyone was like that. Shannon, by the way, what was Battler like 6 years ago? Remember any interesting episodes? Let's see. I'm sure that he said something like this when he left. I'll be back. See you again. I'll surely come for you riding a white horse. Stop it! So embarrassing! Sounds just like something you'd say. Yeah, I remember you always used to be full of those stupid lines, Battler. It really does sound like something Battler-kun would have said back then. Oh, embarrassing? Is that embarrassing? Yeah, horribly embarrassing. Maria, I'm sure that when you're in middle school, you'll want to say embarrassing stuff like that. When that happens, make sure you write it down and read it 3 times before saying it out loud. If you don't, you'll definitely regret it. Still, everyone has to pass through that pitiful period. That's right. That's how you learn your place. Learn shame and become an adult. Yeah, it's one of those bittersweet things everyone does in adolescence, as they transition to becoming adults. A memory you just want to forget. After all, this is all stuff I'd let slip out without thinking, so I didn't remember the words exactly. But now that those words were being recited to me, they were as embarrassing as all hell. I only recently came to understand this weakness, and was working hard to avoid such careless outbursts, but I guess I was just born with the habit of speaking without thinking, and there's nothing I can do about it. Shannon, do you remember any other embarrassing stuff? Yes, well, I remember a few other things, but since it looks like the person in question wants to forget them, I think I'll refrain from saying any more. To be brutally honest, I don't remember this at all. Please, don't make me remember. Oh, Shannon's bullying Battler? Oh, you can't. You shouldn't bully people. She isn't really bullying him. Let's leave it at that, okay? But Shannon, you'll have to tell me all about it sometime Battler isn't around. That sounds pretty interesting. Yes, certainly. No, you can't! Shannon-chan! For a while, George Aniki laughed at me as though warming up for when Shannon-chan would tell him about more of my embarrassing misspeaks. But yeah, we all have that embarrassing era we will go through where it's like, I said that? Really? That's what I did? Oh my god. George looked like he was flirting with Shannon, but he seemed somewhat open and frank about it. He was always that way with his cousins, but he usually took on a reserved, gentlemanly attitude when he came in contact with his servants. When I thought about it, I got the feeling he was being a bit overly friendly, which seemed strange. Maria started scribbling in the sand with a stick, and George, Aniki, and Shannon-chan joined in. This left me and Jessica off to the side, so I asked her secretively, "Hey, Jessica, is George Aniki, going out with Shannon-chan?" "Oh? What the? How'd you guess?" "Bachelor, you've got a keener eye for people than I thought." What? I was just kidding. But they're actually going out? Shh, your voice is too loud. It looks like they're keeping it secret for now, okay? It'd be better if nobody found out about it. Especially Aunt Eva. I see. Love with a servant, huh? Yeah, but since when? Well, I guess a lot can happen in 6 years. But yeah, Aniki's an amazing person, and Shannon-chan seems to be kind and brave. So, they might make a pretty good match. Actually, 6 years ago, I remember taking notice of her just a little bit. I see, she really fits well with George Aniki. Nothing I can do about that. Goodbye, my fleeting first love of 6 years ago. Which means that the collection of embarrassing lines Shannon-chan had just held back on probably had something to do with that. I can't take it. How long have they been going out? That depends what you call going out, but I think it's been at least a year. But if you count the time they both had one-sided feelings, it'd probably be several years. Before I'd realized it, the two of them had separated themselves from the group and were walking down the beach, talking about something. They looked calm, and rather than a light relationship between two lovers, it looked like a more serious one, as though they were already engaged. Happened twice now. 6 years ago, huh? That's a long time. What did those 6 years mean to me? I've just gotten taller. And it's just a waste of time. 6 years I spent obstinately fighting with my dad. What about you, Battler? You got a girlfriend? I wonder. There's a few girls that I have fun with, but there's no only one. I guess I'm just a kid. I think it's more fun to be noisy with a large group of people than being alone with one person. Not so you, Battler. But take your relationship with your female friends seriously. When girls get wrong impressions or form a group, it can be scary, you know? They might be having secret feuds over you behind your back, with people getting hurt or crying. That's so weird. I think I remember getting the same bit of advice from one of the girls in my class just last week. What's this all about? Why can't everyone just have fun together? Do people really want to couple up that much? It's probably because you've never found a partner like that, Battler. Well, you might run into someone sooner or later. You've just gotta wait patiently. What? It almost sounds like you've already found a partner like that. What about you? Have you gotten a boyfriend? Huh? Me? No, there... Come on, that reaction's so easy to understand. From the looks of it, there's some boy you're thinking about, but you haven't been able to confess to him yet. Something like that. Just about. No, that's not, shut up! Who cares about that? If you're the one who brought up the subject, why are you yelling at me now? Women are creatures who always ask questions, and yet almost never answer them. What cruel creatures, seriously. Well, I did try to confess once. Well, I struck out pretty badly. Did you get an I'm sorry? No, well, my feelings were seriously one-sided, and they didn't really know how to respond, I guess. It was like they didn't view me that way at all. Well, I can understand that. You talk like a man, after all. If you don't act a bit more graceful, you won't be able to catch a boy's interest. Superb detective skills, huh? I guess. Is it really? Is the way I speak really that bad? Well, how you talk isn't everything. But when people like you, who usually have a rough style of speech, suddenly start working hard to talk more normally, well, there are guys out there whose heart will skip a beat when they see how determined you are. Is that really true? I see. Oh. Jessica suddenly started talking more meekly, and then her face instantly went slightly red. I see. Even though her confession didn't go well, it looks like she still hasn't given up. But still, I get it. After seeing how close George, Aniki, and Shannon-chan have gotten, I also kind of want to find a girlfriend. Careful, Battler. Careful. 6 years. 6 years of puberty are pretty important, and they went by pretty fast. As the typhoon approached, the clouds grew steadily grayer, but even so, I had this really refreshing feeling. Maybe I'll try thinking more seriously about the opposite sex, rather than just the size of their boobs. That's a good train of thought. You should think more than that. By the way, it looks like George Eniki's going out with a servant. Don't tell me it's the same for you. Huh? What? Why would you think that? Come to think of it, that kid Kennen-kun who greeted us in the Rose Garden. You were covering for him pretty intensely, considering he was just a little awkward at talking. No, that's not... Now you're getting paranoid. Then tell me just one thing. Right now, is the boy you're after within 1 kilometer of this spot? About that, I wonder. Kennen-kun was the only boy on this island now who could possibly become her boyfriend. So judging by her reaction, I was right on. I didn't think of the Ushima family as a noble family, but love with a servant. I wouldn't have dreamed that 2 pairs of Romeo and Juliet would be right next to me. Antieva would probably become an obstacle to George, Aniki, and Shannon-chan's love. If Antieva ever learned that Shannon-chan was a partner of her only beloved son, he'd probably scream at her for trying to steal away at her precious George. And a relationship between Jessica and Kennen-kun would probably be just as full of difficulties. Aunt Natsuhi was also very strict about that kind of thing. After all, Jessica's husband would probably become the head of the Ushimiya family in the future. If that person had once been a servant working for the family, well, things would get complicated. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that yet. Canon would be. Well, love is different for every person. As long as you're with someone who's fun to be around, does anything else matter? When 2 people pair up, they don't need anyone's permission, as long as they accept each other. Worrying about what your parents or family will say means you've already lost. Don't forget that. You'd better not go out with someone with mixed feelings. I can't believe you're saying something so philosophical sounding when you haven't even been in love. Yeah. Don't treat love like a matter of profit and loss. It's about heart. That's all I have to say. Well then, see you again. Have a nice day. Yeah, translation. I've seen some of the translation catches in the story so far. Mostly a lot of little phrases that Japanese just blurt out by nah. But it's like, don't you know, type of thing. George Nissan, Shannon, listen, listen. This guy, he said another one of those lines. I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. Ah, don't make fun of me. Don't make fun of me. Oh, I heard it. See you again. See you again. For a while, we forgot that the wind was getting stronger and played around on the beach. I grew a lot these past 6 years, and being able to celebrate my youth and meet with all my cousins was truly refreshing. It was a bit late now, but I realized that I should have gotten back together with everyone a lot sooner, and returned to the Ushimiya family. It sure is nice to have all the cousins together every once in a while. Ooh. I like it too. It's really fun when all the cousins get together. That's right. We're already old enough. It's not like we couldn't meet each other when our parents aren't around. It might not be a bad idea to gather the cousins together and play every once in a while. That's a good plan. Maybe we should set up something like that the next time we get the chance. Yeah, I agree. I hope we cousins can stay friends forever. Hey. If you make such a big deal of it, you almost make it sound like relatives usually end up hating each other. George, Aniki, and Jessica laughed, but it felt just a little strained. Did I say something wrong? Judging by how our parents made quiet expressions and tired faces every once in a while during the boat ride, and at the airport, maybe I should have kept that to myself. You're right. It's just like Jessica said. Let's always be friends to each other. Oh, me too. We're all friends. That's right. Yeah. We'll always be together. We'll always be friends. But I think it's very important. People are creatures who find it very hard to stay together, much less remain friends, unless they truly desire it. Yeah, that's right. You really can't take everyone being friendly for granted. Oh, which I know said it. Happiness won't be granted unless everyone believes in it. That's true. Maybe some magic exists in the power of belief. If we all believe in that, I'm sure it will bring us happiness. Alright. Well, if we're going embarrassing stuff already, let's all swear to believe in this together. Okay? That we'll all always be friendly. That we'll always be happy. Alright. Like hell we'll end up like our parents. As if we'd ever search for each other's weaknesses, going after grandfather's fortune. Okay. We'll always be friendly and happy. Let's all believe in that. No matter how much we cousins try to nostalgically have fun, dark clouds continue to approach Rokkenjima. I wonder if the typhoon will pass and let us see the clear skies before we leave this island. Who cares about what our parents are planning? Who cares about the inheritance and the honor of our old family? As youthful as we were renewing our old friendship, and we all believed together that we could find happiness. That's why I want this pair of days to end without anything weird happening. In peace and happiness and calmly. No, I don't just want them to end. Please, let them end. Let them end? Oh. Damn it. Don't show up, don't appear. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Sorry to keep you waiting. I finally prepared a new game. Come, let us begin this tale of tragedy. Come to me, winds, rain, typhoon. Cut this island off from the real world. Throw Rokkenjima into another realm, into the spirit world, into a world of fantasy. I won't lie, that shock spooked me. I was expecting it, but not quite so suddenly. And so, the tale repeated for the third time. However, to an endless witch, what did it matter whether it was the first, second, or third time? It probably didn't matter at all. After all, this was a tale of fantasy, endlessly repeating until the match was settled. Would Battler surrender first, or would the witch? Then the sky grew dark and cloudy, and the rain and wind were summoned together and became a typhoon. Maria could be seen in the rose garden, paying no mind to the rain that had started falling, going around in circles, searching for that single rose that should have been marked. Not here. Not here. My rose that we marked isn't here. Ooh. Ooh. Maria definitely remembered it. That rose had been in the flower bed, right here. And yet, it wasn't anymore. She didn't know what to do with her irritation at not being able to find something that should have been there. And, moaning bitterly, she couldn't help but keep going back and forth in circles around the same spot. She was acting almost as though she'd be able to see it if she looked at a different angle. But even though she did that, there was no way to find something that wasn't there. The wind grew increasingly strong, and the rain turned into cold, large drops. There was no way even Maria would fail to notice this. However, if she couldn't find her rose here, it would surely disappear forever. Maria believed that. That feeling spurred her on to keep searching for a rose that she had no chance of finding. Just then, the cold drops of rain tormenting Maria were suddenly blocked. Oh? Maria raised her head. When she did, she saw an umbrella there, protecting her from the rain. And the one holding out that umbrella was the witch she admired, Beatrice. Beatrice! What are you doing so frantically in the middle of all this rain? You could catch a cold like this. Even witches have to care for their own health. I can't find my rose. Ooh. No matter how many times I search, even though it should have been here, I can't find it. Maria told Beatrice about how there had been a slightly unhealthy, pitiful rose, and that she was sure they had marked it. Oh-ho! So you can't find it. If you are a witch's apprentice, you should use magic to search for the rose. I believe that searching with just your eyes won't be nearly enough. Oh, I can't find it. I did my best and tried to search with magic, but I can't find it. I think practicing your magic is a very good thing, but it might be a little too much for you with all this wind and rain. Allow me to lend you some special power. Concern for one's disciples is also one of a teacher's duties. Thank you, Beatrice. Maria's face, which had been full of sadness until just now, split open into a grin. Maria knew that there was nothing Beatrice's magic couldn't do, so she was sure that Beatrice would be able to find the rose easily, even though Maria couldn't. Beatrice closed her eyes slightly, acting as though she was listening for something in all this wind and rain. Then she heard it, opened her eyes, and spoke. All things in this world are transitory. Too bad, Maria. It seems your rose couldn't withstand all this wind and rain. Then, my rose? It was uprooted by the wind, and it's no longer of this world. What Beatrice had said was quite reasonable. There was nothing odd about the flower being broken off at the stem in this strong wind. However, Maria couldn't accept this and bitterly gave a low-pitched moan. Oh, thank you. I still need to fix that. No. Oh? Oh no! It's my rose! My rose won't come back! No! I'll bring it back to life with my magic! Beatrice, teach me how to revive a rose with magic. It's much too early for an apprentice like you to learn the hidden art of endless magic. Know your place. Maria wiped the tears from her eyes, full of regret. Beatrice shrugged her shoulders and chuckled at Maria's pitiable expression. Very well. I will lend you my power, the hidden art that can revive a rose. Really? Indeed. Well then, concentrate the power of your heart. Close your eyes. Forget the rain, forget the wind, and search for the soul of the wandering rose with the eyes of your heart. Ooh. Maria closed her eyes. Then she repeated Beatrice's song-like words. Come, try to remember. Rose, what form did you have? Come, try to remember. Rose, what form did you have? Don't look. Don't listen. And believe. Release the power of your soul from the cage of flesh that imprisons it. That's it. Good. Around Maria, who was concentrating her power, her eyes tightly shut, small golden butterflies began to dance. Was this the manifestation of the magical power Maria held? Lost soul of the rose, gather into one, and remember your form. Come, gather, remember. The glitter of the gold butterflies began to strengthen and their numbers increased. Then, Beatrice raised a finger up to the skies, and they began to gather at the tip of that finger. This was the miracle of the golden magic. The gold butterflies began to condense into a single dazzling grain of gold. It was a single glittering gold seed. It rode on the tip of Beatrice's finger, budded into a golden sprout, and opened into a golden leaf. It then slowly fell from that fingertip, sank into the mud of the flower bed, and began to grow steadily. Maria, who admired magic and the rich, really wanted to see this fantastical sight. However, as an apprentice, Maria was still not qualified to see it. No, she was probably afraid that if she opened her eyes to look, the power that she had concentrated in her heart would be cut off, and the magic would be lost. Therefore, Beatrice, as the only one permitted to witness this golden miracle, was the only witch, the sole master of many miracles. And then, the fully grown rose bloomed, creating one golden flower. And when Beatrice poked it with her finger in just the right way, the gold-colored sparkles scattered, just as if a golden soap bubble had popped, and what remained was a single, beautiful rose. Looks like you've remembered a splendid rose. However, if you just leave it mixed in with the other roses, you won't be able to tell it apart. Shall I perform one last service? Beatrice, for the sake of her cute apprentice, who was moaning ever more now in concentration, decided to use one more bit of magic. When she snapped her fingers, a single gold butterfly appeared, fluttered around, and landed on the flower that had just been revived. Then it suddenly burst open and disappeared, becoming golden lace and marking the rose. That will do. Maria, you may open your eyes now. Oh? Where's the rose? It's not here. Not here. Not over here. Over here. Look, I've marked it with golden lace. Ah, you did! Awesome, 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 awesome! Thank you, Beato. Thank you, Beato. I want to become a witch quickly. A great witch like you. And you can. Long ago, I too wished for that innocently. Just as you do. And I have attained that level. Maria was ecstatic over the revived rose, clapping her hands and jumping around in joy. Watching that, Beatrice also smiled, looking fairly pleased. Alrighty. By now I can break and repair any soul if I try, not just that of a rose, and kill and revive as I please. Come, the barrier of the storm has now sealed Rokkenjima off from the natural world. Now is the time for the Golden Witch Beatrice to descend as an endless witch. The turkey. Beatrice pulled from her pocket an envelope with a family crest, the one-winged eagle, and gave it to Maria. Maria frolicked around it, being selected to be the witch's messenger. Oh, Kinzo, I've come to join in on your fun once more. My preparations are already complete. What of you? Have you prepared enough coins to bet in tonight's game? Alright. And this seems to be a repeat of the first episode. Of course. I'm fully prepared, Beatrice. I've assembled a plethora of pieces. I'm ready both physically and mentally. So, then let us make the ante. All that you have given should be returned to you in the end. Come, take it. Kinzo flung the window of his study open wide, took off a valuable golden ring that had been on his finger, and threw it into the darkness of the raging wind and rain. That ring was struck by lightning, and after twinkling gold for an instant disappeared. Kinzo watched it go, grinning broadly and fearlessly. I don't think I'll lose. You are mine. Forever. The ring that Kinzo had thrown became a single gold butterfly and fluttered around in the wind and rain. It headed for the rose garden almost as though it was being guided there. It then found the figure of the Golden Witch and fluttered down. When it came down right in front of Beatrice, it burst open and returned to its original form, flying through the air. The way it was going, you would have expected it to fall into a puddle, but it suddenly stopped in midair, almost as if some transparent person had caught it. Apparently, even Beatrice hadn't expected this. However, she realized who it was, and grinned broadly at it. As she did, the shadow of the person who had caught the ring began to fuzzily appear. It was the figure of a young man wearing a butler's uniform, embroidered with a one-winged eagle crest. There was no man like this among the servants of the Ushirimiya family. Even so, Beatrice laughed as though it was someone she remembered fondly. Ronove, is it? It's been quite some time. It seems you have remembered me. You are always a man who took loyalty seriously. It has been quite some time since your last correspondence. Not for a single day have I, Ronove, forgotten that I serve you, my lady. I was more afraid that you had forgotten about me. After all, you can be quite forgetful. I see, yes. I certainly am forgetful. I'd forgotten even your sarcasm until I heard it again. My lady, take this. With an exaggerated yet elegant gesture, he bowed respectfully, and held out to Beatrice the head's ring that he'd just caught. It is the Ushirimiya family head's ring, returned to you from Ushirimiya Kinzo. It is now once again in the possession of its master. Indeed. This is Kinzo announcing the start of the game. Of course I'll accept it. So, how shall we play tonight? Shall I prepare the roulette immediately? Or shall I prepare some black tea first? I can't decide which, but first I need you to greet someone. I'm sure that guy's got his mouth hanging open and can't shut it. Right, Battler? Greetings. Allow me to introduce myself. I am called Ronove, and I serve at the side of my lady Beatrice. It is truly a pleasure to meet you. See? His mouth's hanging open and he can't shut it, right? Yeah, no shit. Another incomprehensible guy just showed up. First I grumble about goat-headed people doing the Bond dance, and then goat-heads start showing up in swarms. And since then, not only have those 7-ass Naisons appeared, but now there's even a butler. It doesn't make sense. Cut it out. By the way, Bachelor, did you notice? Did you realize that meeting him is a true devil's proof? A devil's proof? What do you mean? He may not look like it, but this guy's one of the 72. A genuine demon. In other words, I've brought a demon right in front of you, which truly proves that they exist. Ronove holds a noble rank in hell, the 27th highest ranked great demon. He's a pretty useful man. I summoned him at high cost and made him reserve me. It is an honor to meet you. While my name is amongst those of the nobles of hell, I now serve as the head furniture of Beatrice-sama, who despite being a vulgar human, is a great witch of such caliber that demons flee before her. He's a very useful man, but he's impudent with his words. Frustratingly enough, he sometimes forgets to respect his master. Nothing in my contract specifies the manner in which I am to speak. Would you like to change that contract? It keeps me entertained, so it's fine. Beatrice turned her back to him, cackling. After bowing once to her back, Ronove turned back to Battler and stuck out his right hand, showing off an innocent smile. Normally, this would mean that he was asking for a handshake. What is this supposed to be? I am another who has been subjected to my lady's whims. In that sense, I am sure we could become good friends. This is a handshake of friendship. Of course, this only implies your entry into a contract with the demon, so fear not. Sorry, but I'm right in the middle of a big fight with your master. I only shake hands with an enemy after we've beaten each other up in a rainy schoolyard and are all worn out, like something you'd see in a teen drama. Remember that. I see. To shake hands with you, Battler-sama, I must create a fitting atmosphere in a suitable location. Exchanging sweet words and physical language with you that rings true to your heart. When the opportunity arrives, I shall arrange for such an encounter. I must say, I simply do love situations like that myself. As Ronove laughed tauntingly, he whispered to Battler, bringing his face so close that their noses were almost touching. Battler, his face turning red after getting so close to another of the same sex, pushed him away. You're a creepy bastard. I see. Just right for Beato's butler. It is an honor to receive such words of praise. I'm very competent in my tea-brewing abilities, so please look forward to tea time. Baking cookies is one of my hobbies, so please feel free to request any snacks you may desire. Just what I'd expect from a pair of the same gender. You've started getting along well right off the bat. I'm jealous. Bye-bye. I apologize for making you jealous, my lady. I shall not sneakily snatch your guests away from you. Well then, I will leave for now to retake my post as head furniture and greet my subordinates. Please forgive my short absence. Indeed. Only the common goats and the 7 sisters used for the ceremony have manifested themselves. You will be able to finish greeting him in no time. Oh? Those lively 7 sisters are here. I wonder if those naughty girls have grown a little more graceful. If that's graceful, I'll have to doubt the definition of the word graceful. Is that so? Then I suppose you've already had the opportunity to play with those sisters. Judging by your expression, it would seem they're just as naughty as always. Even though I am always telling them to act more fitting as servants of Beatrice-sama. What troublesome kids. If that's your problem, don't worry. They actually act perfectly fitting for their master. Now even you have begun to say it. However, your conversation means that you accept your partner. The fact that you've started to respond to my idle chatting proves that you are gradually starting to accept my existence. That's because even if the sun starts rising from the west, I will definitely, absolutely, never accept that you're a witch. You might want to try a more positive approach, like crying and kissing my shoes. Even if Battler was bluffing, he still spoke forcefully, a fearless expression on his face. The witch and her butler snickered together, realizing that their guest had regained more than enough of willpower to attend to a new game, and that preparations were complete. After Ranave had exchanged a few words with Beatrice, he bowed silently to Battler, scattered into several gold butterflies, and disappeared. It is truly pleasing to have such a boisterous atmosphere. How boring were the days when I was trapped alone on this island, unable to regain my power and lacking anyone to talk to. I get how that unpleasant guy is really fitting as your butler. But tell me, why has that butler only appeared now? You said something about how only the goats and Neichan of the Seven Stakes had manifested themselves. What did that mean? Indeed. You still resist, but I am a fully fledged witch. I am in contract with several non-human entities in the spirit world. I'll bet. No sane people would hang out with you. First some goat monsters, then those ass Neichans, and then this time a demon butler showed up. I hate to think about it, but the way things are going, I wouldn't be surprised if even more weird people appeared. Among the furniture that work at my great golden mansion, how many demons do you think want to come over and play? They will keep coming. Many of them will appear. When the door to the Golden Land is opened, I will call back all of my furniture and rebuild my new castle here on Rokkenjima. Then I plan to invite all of my old friends, and we will drink and dance together for 3 days and 3 nights. Of course, I also plan to invite Kinzo's family. See? You too, if you wish. So, is that what you mean? That since you lost your power for a long time, you couldn't summon them? And then, since your magic power has been gradually increasing, you've become able to summon more and more monsters? It is as you say. You stopped the hair spreads before crumbling. But your heart is already wavering, and you are unable to deny that I am a witch. That wavering in your heart has been slowly restoring my power as a witch. So, are you trying to say that creepy butler appeared because I started to surrender? That's right. Bit by bit you are surrendering to me. Isn't all that humiliation you suffered in the last game a result of you submitting to me so deeply? Wasn't it great when you had to sacrifice your back for the sake of my feet? Damn it. I thought I'd be able to keep things as they were as long as I didn't accept you. But it looks like that was wrong. Correct? The closer you get to surrendering, the more the game will swing in my favor. Isn't chess the same? In the process of cornering each other's kings, we trade several pieces. Of course, I still haven't cornered your king. And furthermore, you're giving it everything you've got just to help your king escape, and have lost several pieces to me, as well as a large advantage. It is only natural that further developments will tend to turn into my favor. Damn. From now on, you will probably be frantic as you try to avoid my checkmate. However, as you do, I will steal your pieces from you, one by one. In the end, you'll have lost everything but your king, and you won't be able to escape no matter how much you try. Then you'll receive a true checkmate. You were talking big last time, weren't you? Something about how you'd never accept me and would torment me with eternal torture. Only witches who have reached the endless level can talk about eternity. That's been beyond you ever since the very beginning. Well, that doesn't bode well. So, more demons and butlers and goats and ladies and crazy people. Kinzo-sama has already publicly displayed the location of the hidden gold within the epitaph under my portrait. The rules apply equally to all who can read the epitaph. If you discover the gold, I shall return everything to you. Tonight, I ask that you enjoy your battle of wits with Kinzo-sama to the fullest. I sincerely pray that this night will be both intellectual and elegant. Beatrice the Golden. When Maria finished reading the letter that Beatrice had handed her, everyone was a lot of words for a while. And then they all broke the silence at once. Ridiculous! What a worthless, vicious prank. Seriously, there's no way Father gave up Beatrice? Huh. What a transparent prank, hoping to confuse us just by bringing up that name. Hey, who filled this dessert up with a little too much punch? I want to applaud and praise you, so come clean, okay? Rosa? Of course not. I wouldn't pull a prank by assuming Father's name. The Nanaki? Nanaki? Me? Are you an idiot? It was Nissan, right? Only he could plan something this vulgar. Are you trying to mock me? I'm the one who wants to question you. Who is behind this ill-natured prank? Crowds beat the table and stared at everyone. Since that included the children too, he scared most of them. A letter from a mysterious person who claims to have been given full rights to Father's assets. Considering that the whole point of this family conference is a discussion of that subject, I think it's too hasty to call this a mere prank. We can't be sure. Maybe it really is one of Father's shady pranks. He might have planned this to shock us a bit, since we've been discussing the distribution of his inheritance without him. If Dad was the one who planned this, then we can't take what Maria-chan just read aloud as a joke, right? That's right. If you interpret the contents literally, then this is a test from Father. The epitaph of the witch has been displayed in the hall for quite some time now, so that any one of us could solve it. There was plenty of notice. That means he was saying that the first person to solve it would be handed the inheritance along with all of his wealth, right? See? My magic granted your wish? Nothing so foolish could possibly be the case. It is an unshakable fact that my husband is the successor to the Ushimiya family headship. Well, doesn't this letter shake that? This is a message from the person who was given full rights to all of Father's wealth. Nissan's right to become the head has returned to a blank slate. The person who solves the riddle, the person who finds Beatrice's gold, will become the next head of the Ushimiya family. Ridiculous. Do you think we can trust the meaningless words in that letter? That the seal was the right thing? Was the real thing? There's no way we could trust that. Then let's try and go and ask Father directly. At this point, you can't get away with saying he's grumpy or feeling bad, right? The sealed wax clearly shows that this was from Father's representative. If you doubt that, then show some proof, Nissan. Show that this letter does not contain Father's will. Very well. It is just as you say. It no longer matters whether the father's in a good mood or not. Let us go up and ask him directly. Let's do it. We'll ask Dad directly. Dad is Dad, so why would he act in such a roundabout way? Then again, I guess that would be like him. I wonder if we really should continue this discussion on the assumption that this letter came from Father. Stupid Rosa. Isn't it obviously from Father? That letter is Father's. Isn't it obvious that he's giving the four of us an even chance to become the successor? Die, you brainless idiot! Rosa really is dumb. If only she'd just give up and die. I'm sorry. That's right. I'm sorry. In the beginning, the adults had all doubted the credibility of the letter. But after realizing that this was a once-in-a-lifetime chance in the inheritance struggle for the three younger siblings, Eva changed her position, claiming that the letter was authentic. Rudolph and Rosa caught on and agreed. Outrageous! How can adults like you take such a worthless prank this seriously? I don't need to be Father to understand his contempt. Oh, Natsui-san, all we've got to do is ask Father and we're done, right? Won't everything be fine if Father just tells us that he doesn't know about any letter? Nii-san, take responsibility and just get him to say that he doesn't know about the letter. This is no time to get scared just because he's in a bad mood, okay? He's still scared of Father at his age, that idiot. If only he'd just give up and die. Yeah, let's get this settled clearly. He's probably eating in his study right now. Let's have him set down his chopsticks for just a moment. It's decided. Let's go. Kiri, wait here for a while. We'll go to check whether it's true or not, and come back quickly. Thank you. I'll wait patiently for Goda-san to bring in dessert. The four siblings, Natsui and Hideyoshi, all rose from their seats forcefully and flew out into the hallway with a clatter. Afterwards, only the children stood completely speechless. Nanjo, who looked uncomfortable, and Kiri, who just shrugged. In the middle of all this was Maria, who looked a little scared at the adult's sudden change. However, judging from her appearance, she didn't look like she realized the full meaning of what she just read. What in the world was that all about? I don't get it. They're all bastards. Do they really want the inheritance that much? Everyone, this is our parents' problem. It has nothing to do with us. So you mustn't worry about it. Even if you say that, they are so blatant about it. I can't believe them. Showing off their greed like that. Oh, everyone has to believe together that we'll be happy. Oh. That's right. We all did promise. Come on, Ballard-kun. Jessica-chan, you too. I feel horrible. We couldn't accept it at all, but we laid down our arms for the time being. We'd been vaguely aware of how filthy this family conference was going to be. However, after that 6-year blank, I couldn't help being shocked. When he saw that, the children were completely dejected. Dr. Nanjo cleared his throat uncomfortably. It's an adult matter. It has nothing to do with all of you young people. Let us forget about it. I would if I could. I know it's hard, but forget it for now. All of your parents are fighting frantically to make your futures just a little brighter. Please don't look at your injured parents with those cold eyes when they come back. No matter how much you ask us, Kiri-san, that'll be tough. If we could be happy with an explanation like that, we wouldn't be kids. Oh, everyone, be happy. Can't get dark. Believe. If everyone doesn't believe we can be happy, that happiness will go away. Everyone has to believe. Oh, oh, oh. I like the sound of that. I'll believe too. I'll believe we can find happiness. Oh, I'm Carrie. Thank you. Battler and Jessica, you believe too. Beatrice is also always saying that magic won't have any power if you don't believe. Oh. Kiri-san rose from her seat quietly, went over to Maria, and crouched down so that their eyes met. Oh. And Kiri believed. Now, Battler and Jessica have to believe. Those two are strong. They'll feel better soon, and then they'll believe. Yeah. More importantly, I want you to tell me something. And Kiri-san said that, Jessica, George Aniki, Dr. Najo and I all listened closely. It looked like our parents were so concerned with the inheritance problem that grandfather filled their minds. But we wanted to ask Maria about something simpler. Oh? What? Who gave you that letter? Beatrice! The witch drawn in that portrait? Oh! She gave me this letter and an umbrella. And she used magic to fix my rose that was broken. Beatrice is an awesome witch who can do anything. Could you tell us about that in a bit more detail? Okay. 8 o'clock. I'm getting the feeling that my bet was just a little bit off. Maybe. I don't know. I don't have belief in my bet anymore. Without even being allowed to wait for dessert, we were chased out of the room. I heard that, in the end, our parents were unable to get grandfather to respond. Well, I hate to say it, but I feel like giving grandfather a high five right now. He's probably pretty satisfied with how the strange letter had given his children a good shock, since they'd all been so infatuated with the inheritance problem while grandfather was still alive. I also felt like our despicable parents had gotten what they deserved in all this confusion. But I couldn't really say that I was feeling great. I felt all sulky. Apparently, grandfather hadn't seemed concerned with the whole thing, but he also hadn't denied anything about the letter either. When talking about the witch's letter, grandfather's name kept popping up. If grandfather knew that someone was stealing his names and considering his character, he'd probably be mad with rage. But even though grandfather now knew the contents of that letter, he coldly ignored it. So, did that count as a silent yes? Auntie and Dad were trying to interpret the letter in their favor, their greed clearly visible. It wouldn't have mattered so much as that was all, but the adults had now started focusing on Maria, who had received the letter. They kept pounding her with questions about who had given it to her. Maria repeated over and over again that she had gotten it from Beatrice, but there was no way such a mysterious person could have sneaked onto the island. After all, this island is small, and there's no one living on it outside the Ushimiya family household. Maria kept repeating that she'd gotten it from Beatrice no matter how many times she was asked. The adults seemed to think she was trying to trick them, so they didn't hold back and questioned her until she broke out in tears. When Maria was released, she sobbed, all worn out from crying. After our parents ordered us to the guest house and to take Maria with us, they shut themselves up in the dining hall and started getting louder and louder as they discussed the inheritance. It seemed that, because of that strange letter, Uncle Krause's chances of becoming the next head might have been reduced to a blank slate, and in exchange for accepting him, my dad and the rest were trying to swindle Uncle Krause out of a lot of money. Or something like that. Disgusted as we were, Jessica and I were happy to move over to the guest house. We didn't want to be under the same roof as those filthy adults, their heads so filled with thoughts about money. George Aniki pleaded on our parents' behalf, saying that he wanted us to understand them. I understood his reasoning. No matter how filthy this talk of money was, it wouldn't go away if you just closed your eyes to it. But even so, how could they sink so low as to overtly fight over the money of the dead? Maria had cried herself dry and was hiding in her bed. She hadn't even twitched for a while, so she was probably sleeping.
Maria-chanは一体誰にあの手紙をもらったんだろうね。
Sorry? Who in the world gave that letter to Maria-chan? George Nissan. You can't ask her that anymore. Isn't it fine to say that Maria got it from Beatrice and leave it at that? After all, we don't want to make her cry any more than this. Even though we said that, we couldn't clear away a gloomy feeling. There are only 18 people on this island now. The thought that somewhere in the rain, a 19th person gave Maria-chan that letter, and is now hiding somewhere, doesn't seem realistic at all. Most likely, somebody got Shannon or someone to put on the dress from that portrait, and cleverly got Maria to go along with their story. Though, in Maria's case, just seeing the dress would probably convince her that it really was Beatrice. Maybe it doesn't really matter who handed her the letter. The important thing is who sent it. The point is that grandfather wanted to cause an uproar by assuming the name of the witch. Seriously, that old geezer's good at riling people up. The most likely answer is that our occult-loving grandfather was playing around, handing the letter over to Maria, who shares the same hobby as he does in such a dramatic way. Though he failed to give any thought for what Maria would have to go through, making it a pretty shitty thing to do. Seriously, messing around with Maria's pure heart. It doesn't matter who handed the letter over. Maria says she got it from Beatrice, so let's treat it that way. I agree. Let's do that. To Maria-chan, Beatrice is kind of like what Santa Claus is to most kids. Whether we're dealing with some non-existent 19th person, or Santa Claus, as long as we all acknowledge them, they'll at least exist inside Maria. I see. I guess it can be important to lie to a child to protect their dreams. What's up, Jessica? Are you still angry? Jessica had her hand on her chin as though there was something that she just couldn't understand. Squeaky chair, my bad. When I called out to her, she came to her senses. Sorry. Well, actually, I was wondering if Maria might have actually met Beatrice. What do you mean by that? Are you saying there's a 19th person on this island? If you truly take Maria-chan's words to heart, then you would arrive at that answer. No, that's not what I mean. I'm talking about the story that someone we don't know has been living on this island since long ago. Living, you say? Where? In the forest. Forest. Are we gonna go gallivanting off into the woods now? Try and find a witch? Because her parents are crazy? I don't know. Now it's starting to go into horror story territory. Let's split up, gang, and go into the spooky forest to find the witch to save our family from the crazy gold people or something, I don't know. The adults were gathered in the dining hall, spending a very long time continuing the discussion that had been started by Beatrice's letter. Krauss strongly claimed that the letter was a simple prank, but he couldn't overturn the claim that Kinzo's failure to deny the letter was answer enough. Judging by Kinzo's character, if he knew that a letter had been written in his name, he would be mad with rage, since all of his siblings knew that Krauss had no choice but to withdraw his claim. Without even having to summarize it, the contents of the letter were simple. The person who could solve the witch's epitaph would receive the headship and assets. This did a lot of damage to Krauss, who had been sure that he would receive the headship, and was better news than the rest of them, who had already given up, could have hoped for. However, there were some points that worried them. The person who solved the epitaph was not limited to a member of the Ushimiya family. Taken literally, anyone, no matter how doubtful their origin, might receive the headship. And furthermore, this meant there was a chance that all of the Ushimiya family assets would be stolen by some unknown person. In that sense, it was definitely not a situation where even the other sibling could afford to lower their guard. Had this letter come from an assassin sent by Kinso calling themselves Beatrice? Or was this the scheme of some unknown person trying to steal the Ushimiya family's wealth? They still didn't know the truth. But they could say one thing for certain. Maria had received this problematic letter today on this island. In other words, someone planning something to do with that letter was on this island today. Had it been set up by Kinzo, one of the 4 siblings, or maybe some unknown person, no matter how much they suspected each other, they couldn't reach a conclusion. After getting tired of bickering with each other, they finally reached the extremely obvious conclusion that doubting each other was just a waste of time. We've made no progress. We've just been spinning our wheels. That's right. And the mere fact that you've realized it means we won't have to waste any more time. It is not certain that father sent the letter. My husband is merely exasperated by your inability to hold a conversation. Who's unable to hold a conversation? You keep yelling at me every time I say something. Do you truly think that such a shameful behavior for a member is fitting for a member of the Ushimiya family? Won't you give it a rest, Eva? You too, Natsuhi-san. That topic finished for now. Shall we all cool our heads off for now? Let's have some cool drinks brought over. That sounds good. It would probably be wiser if we cooled our heads. Don't you want to take a short break too, dear? Aniki looks like she's in a bad mood. So I'll pass on that break. But I agree about the cool drinks. Rosa, have someone bring some water. A whole pitcher. Yes, understood. Rosa headed over to the extension telephone in the corner of the room and called the servant room. She then passed on what Rudolph had told her to the person on the other end. The vicious bickering up until now vanished as though it had been a lie. That silence continued until Goda finished setting the table and retreated from the room. Is there anything else that you require? No. Please leave us. Yes. Then if you'll excuse me. If you need anything, call me at any time. After listening to the sound of Goda's footsteps disappear off into the distance, everyone took a deep breath at the same time to break the tension. It sure is raining hard. I wonder if this 19th person is taking shelter in the Rose Garden Arbor about now. I wonder. They might be able to escape the rain there, but it would be quite cold. A mysterious 19th person as a visitor. Sounds pretty interesting, just like a mystery novel. Normally in that kind of story, it's a safe bet that the person doesn't exist, that one of us 18 would be faking it. I suspect Genji and the others. Just as I thought, it would have been better if we had dismissed all the servants of the one-winged eagle, no matter what excuses we had to make. Come now, don't say that. We must be grateful for their long years of service. Of course, we can't let our guard down. I'm sure you agree too, Nissan, that whether or not father was behind this, the person who handed Maria the letter was a servant. Indeed. In any event, we were all being friendly in our big happy circle until dinner, weren't we? All of the siblings have alibis. Only a servant could have handed Maria that letter. But all the servants... Said that they were too busy with the bed making to have any spare time during which they could go to Marie-chan in the rose garden. Hey, what are you saying that? Trying to say then? You aren't saying that the Witch of the Forest, Beatrice-sama, came over and actually handed Maria that letter, are you? Rosa, you used to believe in that so much. It really frightened you, right? Don't tell me you still believe at this age. And the Witch of the Forest. If she did exist, I'd love for her to appear. But no matter how much I wished, she didn't appear before me, even once. She didn't save me from my crisis. Of course not. I just thought that since all 18 of us said we didn't do it, there might really be a 19th person. That can't be. In the first place, we were the only ones who came on the in on that boat. Sorry. We didn't see any mysterious stranger riding with us. You don't think they could swim across the rough sea, right? I can't really imagine it. Logically, that's true. It is difficult to imagine that there's a single hidden and uninvited guest on this isolated island. However, it looks like some of us still can't abandon the possibility completely, right? Hideyoshi had laughed it off, saying there couldn't be a ninth person, but Carrie had sensitively picked up on the delicate atmosphere around the four siblings. In a normal situation, there shouldn't have been any uninvited guests on this small, isolated island. How would they have come here? And from where? And where were they hiding? And why hadn't they appeared openly, even though they had sent a letter in their name? Nothing could explain that. But not only had the four siblings not joined in on Hideyoshi's laughing, they also seem unable to completely deny in their hearts the possibility of a 19th person. Kiryu-san, please don't misunderstand. It's not as though we believe in anything like that fairy tale-like legend of the witch. This is another topic to insult father. Simply speaking of such a thing is a betrayal against him. I wonder. However, this is father we're talking about. It could be possible, right? I don't know anything. What's this? What's this? Why has everyone gotten so gloomy? What are you talking about? In short, the legend of the witch isn't a joke, but a fact? That's ridiculous. Of course, nobody believes in some witch riding a broom and flying in the sky. But the woman in that portrait, Beatrice, might really have existed on this island. Hideyoshi-san, it looks like we weren't talking about a witch, but something a little simpler. So, it must be something like this. Everyone suspects that father had a mistress named Beatrice secretly living somewhere on this island. Is that it? Father was always exemplary at keeping strictly to the rules. It is completely inconceivable that he would bring something so filthy onto this island. Natsui snapped at them immediately, but it looked like the four siblings, including Kraus, didn't agree. On the contrary, they appeared to think Kinzo wouldn't even have hesitated to do something like that. From the beginning, it had been whispered that Kinzo had built a mansion on this island specifically because of the existence of an entrancing mistress. I'm sorry, Natsui-san. I know how much you respect Dad, but that rumor's been around for a long time. All the buildings on Rokkenjima were built by Dad on his own. People have always guessed he had some contraption or secret room set up in this mansion that only he knew about. And it's always been whispered that, hidden somewhere on this island, there's a secret mansion none of us know about. I see. This island might look small on a map, but it's quite large for just the Ushirimiya family to live on. So, people have suspected that he built a secret mansion somewhere in the uncivilized forest for his mistress to live in. That would be quite a large-scale scheme. In the beginning, people thought it might be somewhere inside this mansion, that there might be a hidden basement with a fabulous hidden room where the witch in that portrait was secretly hiding. After seeing that intricate auto lock on Dad's study, it isn't too hard to imagine, right? After all, Father did spread the rumor that a large amount of gold was hidden somewhere by some mechanism. I wouldn't be surprised if there existed some hidden room inside this very mansion that none of us knows about yet. When Mother was alive, she would often scour the entire mansion searching for Father when he wasn't anywhere to be found. Mother also suspected what Rudolph just said. She believed there was a hidden door or stairway somewhere, and that this blonde-haired mistress was hidden behind it. It's hard to believe, but there are some actual examples in other countries of people cheating with someone over a period of several decades by making them live in a hidden attic room. Furthermore, Kinzo had a mansion this extravagant. It was possible to suspect the existence of a hidden room. From what I've heard, the legend of Rokkenjima Witch was just a fairy tale made up to scare children away from the uncivilized forest. But it's starting to sound like there's little more to the story. Well, as you know, this is a lonely island without anything but the Umineko mansion on it. When Rose and I were little brats on stormy nights, we got scared by the sound of trees rustling in the direction of the forest. We had this crazy delusion that something weird might be looking out at us from between those trees. It's only natural for a brat to think of stuff like that. But when Rose and I complained about it, some people figured it was more than a brat's imagination. Isn't that right, Aniki? Yeah. Nissan and I thought you might have coincidentally spotted Father's mistress, living in secrecy on this island as she went out for a walk when no one was looking. Of course, Mother felt the same. Even among guild of servants, she often had that ghost story about how the witch of the portrait wanders the mansion at midnight. Outwardly, I laughed it off as just a ghost story, but on the inside I suspected very much that it hinted at the existence of a hidden mistress. In that case, you're saying that the existence of a 19th person might not be completely ridiculous? That they might actually be somewhere around here? Sounds like one of those devils Rudolph's always talking about. It might be possible to prove that there is a 19th person, but it's impossible to prove that a 19th person doesn't exist. Should we continue the discussion on the assumption that there's a person named Beatrice hiding somewhere on this island? That's a good plan, from the perspective of risk management. It's probably much more prudent to say she might exist, rather than saying she couldn't exist. I see. Sorry, I was a bit careless. Rosa-san, sorry for laughing just now. It's fine. I don't mind. Hideyoshi apologized deeply for taking the worst-case scenario lightly, despite calling himself the president of a company. Silence fell again. Preparing for the existence of a 19th person would mean, in effect, acknowledging the presence of some unknown person hidden on this island. And since this person might be planning something shady, it was only natural that the conversation would turn in an ominous direction. In the past, Father would sometimes suddenly disappear without telling anyone where he went. After all, he is a man who values silence. It wouldn't have been out of the ordinary for him to shut himself up in some library room after purposely not telling anyone where he was going. However, when the witch theory was slowly refined to the theory about his mistress, people eventually whispered that he was secretly going back and forth to see her. Mom was totally paranoid in her last years. She'd sometimes suddenly start making a fuss, asking the servants to start looking for Dad immediately because of some urgent situation. Yes, that did happen sometimes. Mother was always doing things like that in her later years, and that frightening atmosphere still hasn't gone away. I can say it for certain now. She was a person to be pitied. So then, what happened with those large-scale searches of the house? Did they find anything? No. Father wasn't caught foolishly in a hidden room even once. Always, after a long time had passed, he would suddenly show up somewhere. Then he'd say that he'd taken a nap in some library room, or that the wind had summoned him to take a walk on the beach. But it was always some place where the servants had already looked. We never knew where Father had gone. Even at that time, Grandfather was famous for his occult inclinations. So some of the servants exaggerated, saying they might have turned into butterflies and danced around the rose garden. In short, Father frequently disappeared, and no one knew where he went. Yeah. Since we couldn't find him no matter how much we looked inside the mansion, we got more and more sure that Dad might have been somewhere outside. But the area outside the mansion isn't large at all, which leaves only the forest. And if you tie that in with the legend of the witch, you get a theory like this. Father actually built a hidden mansion somewhere in the forest, inside of which a mistress by the name of Beatrice lived, and he sometimes went to see her. I was also young at the time. I was so eager to find where Father was having his affair that, at one time, I followed him when he went outside. Of course, it was a failure. Every time Father went out, he was solidly intent on avoiding places where he might be seen, and was extremely careful to prevent anyone from spotting him. And he was extraordinarily earnest in his attempts to do so. But that's actually made me sure. He must have been going out for some reason that the members of families couldn't know about. And that'd be going to meet his mistress. Probably trying to avoid being seen. After seeing Hideyoshi nod and say yes, yes, as though this was quite obvious, he got a little sullen. Well, anyway. This island was like a sketchbook in which Father, with his Western obsession, could draw out all of his dreams. Everything about this island was exactly how Father wanted it. It wouldn't be odd at all if there was a hidden mansion somewhere for his mistress to live in. Eva's words spoke for what all the siblings had come to think. For a while, the room returned to silence again, and everyone listened to the sound of the wind and rain. Was there a hidden mansion on this island, and had Kinto's mistress been living there and hiding for a long, long time? Everyone thought they were being too suspicious, and they hesitated for a long time without speaking. But everyone shared a common opinion. Kiri, who had been listening the whole time with her eyes closed, spoke to no one in particular. How long has this rumor about Father's mistress been around? As soon as we moved to this island, about 30 years ago. After all, it probably would have been impossible for him to have a hidden mansion built while we were here. People and materials would have to be going in and out. It would have been exposed quickly. So, if it was possible, it happened before we moved here. It probably could have been built along with this mansion when we were still living in Odawara. Since Father had set up a double life with his family and his mistress, it's probably reasonable to assume that he had it all planned from the beginning. And his relationship with that mistress probably went back to the days when he lived in Odawara. Probably. If, as Father says, she is the source of the vast amounts of gold to use to gain the funds that resurrected the Ushimiya family, we could probably conclude that they had a close relationship since Odawara. A relationship trusting enough for her to lend him a vast quantity of gold. I can't even imagine how old that relationship must have been. Perhaps Father gave her some kind of valuable advice for succeeding in business. It's natural to think that, out of a sense of gratitude for that, this person gave Father the gold. If you think about it that way, it's obvious that they would have a close relationship after that. Rather than a festering relationship with a mistress, it was probably a relationship of gratitude as a person who saved the Ushimiya family from its crisis. I don't know if what Natsuki-san's saying has a ring of truth to it or not, But even in that case, isn't building a hidden mansion and having her live in it going a bit too far? Doesn't that mean they felt something a bit more than gratitude? Well, this is all just speculation. In the first place, no one's ever found that hidden mansion. Aniki, you were planning on expanding this island into a resort, right? As you were doing that, you didn't manage to stumble on it by chance, did you? Maybe you even bumped into some gold there, too. Do you think Rokkenjima is Treasure Island or something? Don't play dumb. We know that, although you say you're opening a resort, you have really been planning to investigate the entire island, right? Judging by all that trouble and confusion we were talking about earlier, you haven't been very successful, have you? I don't know what you're talking about, but it's a misunderstanding. Isn't it perfectly natural that investigating this island would be the first step in turning it into a resort? Rouse tried to play dumb, but it was plainly obvious to his siblings who knew him so well. Rouse was definitely sure of the existence of a hidden mansion, and under the pretense of opening a resort, he had been closely investigating the island, searching for a clue as to the location of the hidden gold. They couldn't tell whether that conviction was just him overthinking things, or whether it was based on some physical proof. Still, if Kraus, with all his guile, was sure, that was enough proof for the other siblings to be sure too. The story about a witch living in a forest is obviously a fairy tale, but the story about some blonde-haired girl living secretly in a mansion no one knows about in the middle of the forest isn't much better. That's right. That really would be just like a fairy tale. You like those, don't you, Rosa? Huh? Well, when the mansion was built on this island, Father was at the height of his prosperity. With his money, he could probably attain anything, make any of his wild imaginations real. A mansion in the forest where a witch quietly awaits. It sounds like the kind of situation Father would like. Doesn't it? Like something from the occult or a fairy tale. It feels like Dad's kind of hobby. On this island, which the Ushima family had lived for 30 years now, a hidden mansion that no one knew about had been quietly built to house a witch, and whom nothing was known except what could be guessed from a portrait. Even the safely thrown together theory might not be completely delusional, considering all of Kinzo's strange habits and his vast wealth. It might have not have been impossible for Father to build a hidden mansion to satisfy his dreams. However, let's be realistic. Would it be possible to house his beloved woman in the hidden mansion for decades without it becoming inconvenient? Well, if there was love, it could have been doable, right? Think of the facilities needed to let his beloved woman live healthily, and in a way that would satisfy Father. For example, even if it was on a small scale, it would have to be an intricate and pleasant residence. And it would probably need to have electricity, gas, and running water maintained, as well as some people to see to her needs. Even cooking would be quite difficult. She would need clothes and makeup, the daily necessities. The needs of a woman aren't simple. Would it be possible to maintain all of that without any of the family or the servants noticing? When you say it that way, it sure sounds like a weak point in our theory. But that isn't enough to get rid of my feeling that Dad might have been able to do it anyway. After all, it's Dad we're talking about. That's right. It's our father. If Father wanted to succeed in an endeavor, he would succeed no matter what. Saying that something would be difficult for a normal person, and therefore impossible, doesn't apply when it comes to Father. Indeed. You should never underestimate Father. Father's madness can't be understood by normal people. I wouldn't put it past that, Kinzo. As long as you stick to this phrase, a considerable amount of certain credibility can dwell in any absurd story. However, that didn't cause the importance of what Kiri had said to waver. This was different from stealthily raising a kitten in a cardboard box and keeping it a secret from your parents. Taking care of a person in secret over a period of 30 years would be an incalculably massive task.
お父さんの黄金伝説はドッケン島を取得する前からや。
I'm gonna call it here. It looks like this discussion is gonna keep going for a bit more, and we've hit our time limit for today. And it looks like we're going to be heading into the forest for some antics, I imagine. Maybe by everybody, the adults and the children. I don't know. But, well, you can find somebody named Kinzo who'd be their mistress. It's all a matter of perspective, I guess. I don't know. Opportunity. And here we have Arnove. I'll read his little bio and call it a day. Of the 72 great demons, works for a master in exchange for various forms of compensation. He currently has a contract with Beatrice as her butler. Head furniture. He's become proficient at housekeeping after serving in many households, so his ability as a butler is very high. In the high society of witches, employing him has become a kind of status symbol. Furthermore, the cookies he bakes are superb, and witches will often form a line demanding them. He must possess tremendous magical power, but since he always stays out of the spotlight to further boost his massive reputation, his combat capabilities are unknown. Oh, it just fades. But, yeah, bye-bye, see you tomorrow. And, yeah, for reference, I will be doing this on Thanksgiving too. It's early morning, and it doesn't bother anything for my schedule to do this, though it may be for yours. Do you guys celebrate Thanksgiving? It's an American holiday, or at least you practice something? I don't know. Well, we'll find out, one way or the other. Anywho, that's it for today. I'm actually really tired. I think I got to sleep late or woke up odd. I'm like kind of dragging here at the end. So I'm gonna call it a day and see where we can get to. I guess this is Eva's arc. Maybe.